Okay, so in the last chapter we modeled this go-kart frame that you can see here. It's given us the rough basis that we need for our model, but it's actually a little bit basic in certain areas. So what I'm going to do in this chapter is show you how you can go into this model and model it further and produce a slightly better looking model. Now, at the moment, we still have the frame guide visible, which you can see here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the display option here to actually hide that. I'll just unhide our frame again. We don't really need the guide anymore. It's just going to confuse us as to what is what, so we can just hide that for now. Now I'm going to go into the model and work on certain areas of it. So let me just look at what we could actually improve here. Well, I'd say this plate could possibly be made a little bit more realistic looking by maybe rounding the corners slightly. We could probably round these tubes here slightly, and the same with these corners here. They're a little bit hard, aren't they, at the moment? And also the same for these here, and also these little pieces here could actually have some extra quality put into them. We've already got some really nice rounding going on here, as we saw in the last chapter. So I just want to improve the quality of this a little bit. I just want to make this a little bit more realistic. So let's make a start on these changes. Now, at the moment, we still have the symmetry modifier in place, and that's a cool thing. You know, it means that we only have to make changes on one side, and they'll actually be implemented on both. So the first thing I'm going to do is let's just pull this panel back in here a bit, go into edge mode, and see what we can do with this corner here. Well, one thing I could do is I could actually get these two edges, and I could connect them. Let me just change that to 1, and then I could adjust this to here, let's say, and then move this down. And in that way, then I can actually bevel this edge to make it slightly more rounded. But there is actually a tool which is designed to do just that for us with the minimum of fuss. So instead, we can just use the chamfer tool here. And you can see that when we use it, we have this spinner which allows us to chamfer. We can choose how big the chamfer is. So let's actually make this mirrored. So we'll just do both edges here at the same time. So let me just then go back to chamfer. And as you can see, it's doing both at the same time now. Really cool. And let's say we wanted it to be this big. Then we could apply that. And we could just change it so that we had a second chamfer, which was this size. And as you can see, that now gives us a nice rounded edge here. And then I could just say OK to that. Now, try experimenting with this tool and see what happens if you have, let's say, 3 edges here. See what happens when we try the chamfer tool here. As you can see, you get this effect. And you could also apply that and then, you know, try doing what we did earlier. It doesn't work so well in 3 dimensions because, well, actually it doesn't work so bad really, but we do have issues going on here where it actually joins up to the geometry around it. So you may want to tackle it as a step-by-step process. So we could just undo that a few times, and let's just do what we did earlier again. Just redo it basically. Now if we're really clever, we'll actually do the back end of the cart at the same time. Just zoom in here. There we go. We can just choose chamfer. A really big chamfer at first, apply, and a smaller chamfer. And there we go, we've actually got a nice rounded corners now. Now, let's see what happens if we do some chamfers on the inside edges. Let's try one at first. Try chamfering that. Actually, we've got a back face there. Got a back edge. Let's turn on ignore back facing, make sure we don't do that again. There we go. And as you can see, you get the same kind of thing going on here. You can actually chamfer that in some. You can apply it, and then you can do it again. Get yourself another kind of rounded thing going on there. So let's just cancel that and do that a few times. We'll just select these inner edges here. Just have to do the ones on this side, but let's do the ones on the front of the card as well. The lecture, let's just do the chamfer again. Make it quite small actually, because it's on the inside, so apply that. There we go. We've produced a really nice, neat looking chamfer there, and that's rounded off our bumper somewhat and made them look a little bit more attractive. That's pretty cool, eh? And if we wanted to, we could carry out the same kind of finessing to other parts of the mesh. Let's say, for instance, here, these vertices here. Zooming in here. See what happens if we try a chamfer here. Yeah, that would look pretty good there as well, I think, actually, to round off these corners. So let's just select here, here, and here. And we're going to go for quite a round chamfer here. So let's try and do 3. Let's actually see if that works. So we'll go for a massive chamfer at first. Yeah, like that. We'll apply that. And we'll go for another level. Say like that. Apply that. See what we do now. Can we get that? Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Actually, no, it's caused an artifact there, so let's undo that. We'll just try again. Try this. Apply that. We won't be greedy actually, we'll just go for this, I think. Okay, that. There we are, that looks a lot better. We've got a nice kind of rounding going on there. And if we wanted to, we could just go in and, you know, improve on that just by further finessing. And let's say we just want to do here also. Let's just zoom in here. I'm just going to select a ring here. Ring selection, chamfer. There we are, we've nicely rounded that off. Very nice. And we'll do the same here, I think. Also here. We'll just do these outside edges separately. And then we'll do the inside after. So let's just go for chamfer again. Just create quite a big chamfer. Apply that. And then I'm right clicking actually to 0 this all the time, by the way. And then just choose that option there. See, that looks pretty cool up there also. And then what we'll do now is we'll do the inside edges. Get that edge there and that edge. And we'll go for chamfer. Quite small again, as I said previously. Apply that. And then, okay. Looking pretty cool, huh? We've improved it a lot here. Now, don't forget, this go-kart is actually meant to be, you know, tubes. And really what you probably want to do is to actually chamfer large areas of it in one go, rather than, you know, doing it bit piece like I have here. So really what you'd want to do generally is, you know, get rings of edges that could be chamfered and select them all in one go, like I'm doing now, as you can see. And now if we chamfer these, in fact, you know, you can even try just doing entire areas. Let's just try selecting all of these edges here. Let's try, actually turn off ignore back facing, otherwise we'll lose some of the back facing faces. Holding down control to get the rest. Make sure we've got all of these. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Let's see what happens when we try chamfering now. Turn that on, and you can see it's working pretty well, but it's also chamfering these areas here, which is probably a waste of geometry, maybe. So we could try cancelling that and removing those from our set. And see what we get now when we chamfer this again. As you can see then, it doesn't actually chamfer that subdivision there. So we get a slightly neater result. So it's just a case of selecting, you know, the edges that you need to be chamfered, and the ones that you don't, you can actually deselect. Anything which is basically planar, like here, 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 just these edges. And then when you have all the edges that you like, you can then just basically use the chamfer tool to do them all in one go. So it's probably a good idea when you're doing this to actually have ignore back facing turned on, because it's very easy for selections to go through an entire mesh and select things which are behind it. So as you can see, I can just get rid of these, try getting rid of that as well. Here also. Here too. There we go. So, and a little bit trial and error. We don't actually need to do these because we've done these previously. So, yeah, that's looking pretty good, I think. Give that a try. Ah, yeah, we missed a few here. Obviously, where you have angles like this, you want to leave them selected. It's a bit of a time-consuming process. We need that one there. Yeah, let's try that. You know, that's going to produce a pretty good overall chamfer. And that's going to produce quite a nice looking mesh there. So I'm just going to try doing a double chamfer. So we'll do quite a large one at first. I think that's actually pretty large. Let's just apply that, zero that, and then no, that would produce some weird looking results in places like this. So let's just go for a single one of the right size. Let's just go for that 45-degree angle and just okay that. Actually, let me just undo that again, and we'll just put in a fixed value 0.1, so size, and okay that. And as you can see, that's produced quite a nice bevel there on the corners of all these tubes, and it actually will improve the look of the tube massively when it comes to render time. Now down here we need to add some kind of beveling onto the face here. As you can see, we haven't got really anything there, and so for that we're going to use a slightly different tool. I'm just going to select this face here, and you can see we've got some tools here: extrude, outline, inset, so on and so forth. Now I think in this case the tool we want to use is, let's try bevel. Yeah, this is actually a three-dimensional bevel, so we can put in a height and put in an offset inwards, and just okay that, and now we've got a bevel inwards, as you can see. And we can use the same kind of tool down here. Let's see how it works on this piece of geometry. So we need to select all of these faces here. So probably the easiest thing to do is to actually select along this plane here. Do the same here. We've got back facing turned on. We're actually not selecting the back faces. There we go. And we'll just do the same here, 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 and here. Okay, let's see what happens when we try beveling. So, I think we need to do by local normal. Yeah, that makes more sense. And obviously we need to keep this quite small. And there we go. And that gives us a pretty good result. This is pretty ugly here, but we can actually fix that very easily. Or we can leave it. We can leave it as a feature, really. But it's not really a big problem. So yeah, that looks pretty good. We'll okay that. And you know, just to show you how you can actually fix some of those issues there. Let me just zoom in a bit. Turn on wireframe display by pressing F4. I can select that edge if I want to, and I can actually make it kind of more planar like this. That's one method. And we'll do the same thing for this one here. See if we've got the right edge there. No, we've got the wrong edge. The wireframe view, just so we can see a bit more easily. There we are, we got it there. And then move that down to here. Move that in until it becomes more planar, like that. And then if you don't like the way that this dips in here, you can do the opposite. You can basically just pull this out here. So it give more of a sort of uniform thickness here. You can see. Not particularly attractive, but it's quick and it pretty much does the job that we need, really. So in this case, I think it's fine. There we go. Let's have a look at what we have here. We have some nice rounding going on in lots of places. We've rounded these corners. We have got some issues with smoothing groups. You can see it's actually not smoothing across this curve here. That's easy enough to fix. We can just go into sub-object mode, select all the polygons by pressing A, and I'm going to use an auto smooth here to try and get this to smooth. So let's just try it. It looks okay, but it's actually, you can see it's actually smoothing across these edges here. Need to put the angle down a bit. Try it again. Yeah, that's looking better. Just put it a little bit lower and try it again. See if it looks any better. Yeah, that looks better. So if we use quite a small value for the auto smooth, we end up with some nicer looking smoothing groups. You can see it's actually starting to lose the smoothing here. Let's just put that back up a bit. There we are. There we go. We've got much nicer smoothing now across these surfaces. Now, in some cases, you might actually, you might find that those smoothing groups don't work so well in this area. And you just need to go in then and just select these polygons and work out their smoothing groups individually. So it's all, quite easy to do, really. Now, we've got some really nice beveling here. Not up here on this part of the model, but that's just a matter of time to actually just go in there and select the edges that are needed, and then use the bevel tool to actually give them some nice roundness in those areas. Before we finish off, let's just look at one more little finesse that you could probably do if you really wanted to. And that is, these are meant to be all welded, so maybe we could put in some little bulges at the joints, which would be representative of the weld itself. So we could do that very easily, just select the ring of edges, just use the ring tool to do that. And then once you have those edges together, let's make sure we've got all of these. Yep, we can then connect them. And let's just make sure that we've just got the one there. Okay. And then I'm going to turn on the, if I move these, I'm going to be changing the shape of the tube. And I don't want to do that. So I'm going to constrain these edges. If I go for vertices, I'm going to constrain these vertices to the edges. I'm going to turn on constraints edge. Now if I move, you can see the vertices are actually locked to those correct edges. Just need to turn off ignore back facing and select those vertices again. I didn't actually get the back vertex, but okay, so now I can move this down till it's in roughly the right spot. So this is going to be about the size of our weld. Not incredibly neat, but maybe somebody who did this wasn't so good at welding. And now I'm going to select this edge, do a ring selection, go around and check it. It doesn't seem to be working for some reason on here. Not sure why. We'll just select these edges manually. Let's go around and check that's done okay. Yeah. And then we can choose connect. And there we are. We've got our edge that goes all the way around. And in this case, we're going to go for 2. So we've got our edges that go all the way around. Now that we have this extra geometry, we can actually pull this out and create a little bit of a bulge here. So actually to do that, it's still constrained to this edge. So we just need to turn off constraints. There we go. And we can just pull that out, create a little bulge there. Do the same thing in this direction, except I'll just do it with this edge to keep it looking neat. There we go. Do the same thing here. Pull it out here a bit. And we'll just grab this face here and just do it slightly. There we are. So as you can see now, we've got these nice little bulges at the bottom of, just turn off wireframe. Probably what we need to do here as well is go in and do our auto smooth again. And you can see now we've got these joints just showing up at the base of this tube. And we just need to kind of put these faces into their own little smoothing group, I think, actually. Let me just deselect everything and just select these three. Just put them into their own smoothing group there. Just zoom out some. Do the same for these. Just put them into 31. There we are. And now we've got some little weld marks there, little weld joints that you can actually see showing up, which is pretty cool. So now we've got some nice beveling, which gives us nice highlights here, which means that when we do a render, you know, if I did a very quick render, we get these nice highlights showing up along these bevel points. This is a very important thing, you know, on high quality models, that you have these bevels to actually give you nice highlights along those points. If you don't have those bevels, then you've got a 90-degree angle, which is actually mathematically perfect. So in other words, you're on one plane at one moment, and on the next plane, you're at 90 degrees away from it, let's say, and there's no transition between the two. And in the real world, you don't get that. There's always a curve at the edge of two planes where one merges into another. It's basically, you know, impossible to have sort of mathematically perfectly sharp 90-degree corners in the real world. You know, that just doesn't happen. We got a few more, you know, bits and bobs that we can improve if we wanted to. We could go in and, you know, get this set of faces here, and I could select those, and you can see I'm not actually getting everything in one go, and for that I can use the biangle tool, and that will actually select all faces within an angle threshold. So we actually want to put that right down low, because we don't want anything over 90 degrees away. And now I have those faces. If I wanted to, I could just bevel that out and you know, just improve things. And you can just go around this mesh, you know, for a very long time, just improving all of these various edges, going in here, selecting these edges, and chamfering and beveling away, and just improving, you know, the overall look of the model bit by bit. I'll do that. I'll carry on doing that. You know, it's a little bit of a tedious process, and it's going to take a while to do, but in the end, it's going to really pay off and make this model look much, much better. So it is really, you know, worth the effort.